nerds. I said, hey, nerds, $1 million. They let me in the door.
They'd say, yeah, thanks, I've got 5. I don't need your 1.
All right, Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie
Former
News.
NFL quarterback, Chargers, Cowboys, second overall pick, knows his Pac-12 football and college football very well. I lean on him for that. Ryan Leaf joining us on the show today. So I got to ask you first about Mitch Trubisky for the Bears, who played in the preseason, looked good, didn't play now. A lot of people like, oh, Chicago, you got to put Trubisky in. Where do you fall on that, having been in his shoes?
I would agree. I think it's time. I think they're 0-3. I don't know if they're really going anywhere. I really like what the Colts did, if you want to do a comparison with Peyton and I, where they allowed him to fail during that year. I think he threw the most interceptions.
Peyton.
Yeah, that whole year. I got pulled around week 7. I don't like to make comparisons with myself because I was so out of whack mentally, I think, or dealing with things. But sure. I think Mitchell is much more capable of dealing with failure and seeing it as an opportunity to get better each week. And I think you've got to allow that because Glennon's not going to be your starter going forward, right? This is going to be a franchise quarterback that you drafted second, and you got to see what you have. And he proved himself in the preseason, I thought, enough to warrant a shot.
Once you let's say let's go with Trubisky next week. You got to keep him in, right?
Yeah, you have to let him ride and fail and see it as an opportunity to get better, learn from it, and try to be better the next week.
Because he'll screw a guy up.
Yeah, it will. If you start yo-yoing with a quarterback, you can lose your confidence pretty quick. I know I did.
When they took you out?
Yeah.
So when was the first time you were yanked?
It was at Denver, and I think I was like 8 of 21 midway through the third quarter and throwing for like 50 yards.
And they pulled you out?
Yeah.
And you were shot for a couple of weeks?
I took things so personally, and I just thought it was the end-all, be-all, right? And the criticism that came, I just didn't deal with that well. Some guys can. Some guys see it as an opportunity to stand on that sideline and learn, but the amount of pressure and the expectations that were placed on me to fail that way had a lot of detrimental mental things that affected me moving forward.
So I was saying, I got nothing against John Fox. I have friends who know John. He's a really good coach. But I do think there is real value to a young quarterback, getting him an offensive coach. Take me to your current Goff. Looks like a different player. I mean, Deshaun Watson, Bill O'Brien knows quarterbacks, right? Like, I got nothing against Lovie Smith. I really liked him. But Dirk Cutter from college on's an offensive guy. What's the advantage for you having an offense or defense? Like practice, film? Like, where does it pay off?
There's theories that can go either way, right? So my head coach in college, where I succeeded really well, was 30 years older than me. And he coached the quarterbacks, Mike Price.
So he was a quarterback coach.
Right. So we spent all our time together, and we just developed this great relationship. I would agree with you that you're seeing a different side of quarterback here in Los Angeles with Jared Goff because of Coach McVay. And he did the similar thing with Kirk Cousins in Washington. So if you're going with a franchise quarterback, you're going to try to find an offensive-minded coach or somebody who they can relate to. Sometimes you need a buddy who can relate to, or sometimes you need a father figure. And for me, the best possible coaching environment for me was a father figure who could teach me.
When you came into this league, the brilliant June Jones and
Kevin Gilbride,
offensive guys were your guys, and you got hosed because the ownership didn't like him, but you loved him. So again, the Spanos family. I'm not taking shots here. It's not been the most brilliantly run franchise. So you were a young quarterback, and you really liked June Jones. So take me to let's just do a pretend. So take me to a moment with June Jones that he gave you something that a defensive coach probably wouldn't. A conversation, a coffee, a tip. Like, take my audience into that, because June's a sharp cat. Went to Hawaii, and they were bang 13-0.
Personnel, I mean, he was an offensive genius, and there was things he said to me early on in training camp about how we watched film together. We saw it from the same kind of angle. That really made me feel good about where I was going because of the time I put in, and then we were seeing the same type of thing. But he also was there when I'd mess up. He was a guy that would confront me and hold me accountable. And I remember when I blew up at the reporter and did just a terrible job of apologizing and taking accountability for it. He was on me. He called me. He found me that night. He got on the phone with me. These are things that it's a relationship that's just not based around football. This is something you're going to spend your whole life doing, hopefully, as a profession up to a certain point, and you need to have a relationship with somebody where they can confront you like that and you can go right back at them.
When you watch Rodgers and Brady, which one impresses you more? Because they're both different animals. One's got the golden arm, one's got the golden discipline. Like when you look at Brady and Rodgers, Aaron last night, I mean, it just looks ridiculous. The ball, it's like a seed. It pops out of his hand. Which one do you wish you were? Because you had a pretty good arm. If I said to you, you enter the league, do you want Brady's discipline? Do you want Rodgers' talent?
I'm gonna say that their discipline is very similar. I got the great opportunity this offseason to pretty much train with Aaron at the gym and watch him prepare. He's a very disciplined person. He's more laissez-faire when it comes to things with social media, interacting with his fans. I think that you don't necessarily look at it as discipline. His ability to focus and prepare. I agree with you in the idea that there are a certain amount of quarterbacks in this league. If those guys were not on that football team, the team would not exist.
Like Green Bay,
New England. I was talking to your producer about it. Maybe it's about wearing number 12, and that's where I messed up. I just didn't wear number 12, and that was the problem.
Yeah, that's bad. It's funny. I don't think of Aaron Rodgers. That's funny because I say Brady's disciplined as if Rodgers isn't. Like Aaron could be this good without being disciplined.
Right.
Like so for me, obviously, I'm completely inaccurate.
I think he gets what you're talking about. I think he got that from Brett Favre. That kind of gunslinger approach, but he was different. He stayed within the play frame of what the coaches were calling because he knows that offense just as well as Coach McCarthy does. And they communicate really well with each other and how they're going to do something. And a lot of what he does is manufactured by the way he works the snap count. Same with Tom. I think it's a very good comparison. And if both of those guys, because we talk about how great Deshaun was last week against New England, but we almost gloss over the fact that they still lost because of number 12 scoring down at the end in the last 2-minute drill. I mean, that's what he does. That's what they both do.
Finally, Washington State, you went there, host USC tonight. I've called it my upset of the weekend. I'll take Wazoo. Your thoughts?
I mean, I don't know if it's an upset. I mean, they started out at, I think, 3-point favorites. Washington State's very capable of winning this football game.
USC, this will be their 5th straight bowl team.
And they don't do a very good job of going on the road on a Thursday, Friday night and playing on the road. They've had disappointments when they were ranked number 1, going up to Oregon State. Pullman's a very difficult place to play. You got to fly to Spokane, drive 90 miles. Locker rooms aren't that great. The fan base is going to be unbelievable. Apparently, it's sold out. All the standing room only tickets are sold out.
By the way, I heard Mike Leach said Sam Darnold's not ready for the NFL, and I thought, that's not controversial. He's not.
Well, of course not. No one's ready for the NFL. I don't care who you are. You're not ready for what's about to happen because it's completely different. So he's just speaking the truth, and I think that he hasn't shown us. There's been some signs of how good he can be.
Yeah.
But he's turned the ball over too many times.
Two picks a game.
Yeah, he's throwing the ball a little high. My biggest concern tonight for USC is that Coach Grinch and that defense has improved enough where they can be stingy up front, even though they're undersized, make plays, shut down that running game, and turn them into a one-dimensional team like Texas did and made Sam have to throw the football. The difference is Texas didn't have an offense. Washington State has an offense.
So I have it 34-26. I think Wazoo wins by slightly more than a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 35-31 Washington State.
Wow. Yeah, it's funny. I don't think it's a major upset. USC's left tackle.
I don't know if it's a major upset. I mean, you're talking about
an upset.
It's an upset, of course, because they're ranked higher. But Washington State's ranked 16th in the country.
By the way, USC's missing their best pass rusher, their best tight end, their left tackle, and their starting running back.
This is going to be a huge opportunity for Washington State. It's the biggest football game they've had since the 2003 season when Jason Gesser led them to a Rose Bowl. I think they're going to be on a national stage.
Don't screw it up.
Yeah, don't screw it up.
Coug it.
We don't like to say it. When you coug it, that's something good.
That's not the way the rest of us see it.
I know, but that's why we're brainwashed and that's why we're Cougars.
Ryan Leaf hits the herd.